I actually slightly say that in 2 meetings it's small or anything. So,
Yeah. Well, I think it's nice that it's festival, but it wasn't the states, but like they're living in them. I don't think it's something we're meeting here. And working with you. And you tell us something. So we're not feeling like you're but there's no way we can tell you that. That's why they realize you want to long time. It's still there. They're like, get up and get here. You know, it's the same as me. It's all that wants to be broken, and I just think of coding. The other day, the coding, but I'm going to figure out. I think that was another two.
All right. Chag Sameach. We'll begin on page 418 with the words of Ma Tovu. Ma Tovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael. Ma Tovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael. Va'ani berov chastecha avo v'eitecha eshtachavei el hechal kodshecha be'yiratecha ma tovu Ohalecha Yaakov, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael. Ma tovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael. Adonai, ahavte me'om beitecha, u'mekol mishkan kevodecha. Va'ani eshtachabe ve'efra'a, evracha lifnei Adonai osi. Ma tovu. Ohalecha Yaakov, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael. Ma tovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael. Va'ani Eshachavei ve'efra'a, Ebracha lifnei Adonai osim. Va'ani tefilati lecha Adonai ratzon Elohim berov hastecha aneni bemet ishecha ma tovu Ohalecha Yaakov, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael, Ma tovu. Ohalecha Yaakov, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael. Chag Sameach. So nice to have everyone here on our Passover morning. The holiday of Pesach is about, as we know, the exodus from Egypt and the Israelites marching towards freedom. The word Egypt in Hebrew is Mitzrayim. It comes from the root metzer, which means narrow. So there's this idea that freedom that the Israelites escape from Egypt is this escape from the narrow place, from going from a place that is confined, that is limited, to some place that is open and free. And Passover is the story that I think really resonates not only amongst the Jewish people, but across many, many, many cultures. And I think it's because in many different ways, we all find ourselves at different points in our lives in narrow places, right? In these places of confinement where we feel held back, where we feel a bit confined. Good morning. And so Passover is this opportunity to reflect on what are the walls on either side of me. What in your life is holding you back? And what would it feel like? What would it look like to get to that open space, to emerge from the narrow place into freedom? Page 451, Chetzi Kaddish. Yitzkadal v'yitzkadash shmei Rabba ve'alma divrach yirotei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon u'yomechon u'chayei d'cho beit Yisrael b'agala Ubizman Karib Vimeru Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevorach Le'ala Malam Me'al Maya Yitzbarach Yitzbarach Yishabach V'yitzba'ar V'yitzraman V'yitnaseh V'yitadar V'yitale V'yitalal Shmei D'Hudasha Brichu Leila min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiram b'yalma v'meru. Amen. Please rise, page 452. Baruch et Adonai, Amen. Please join me on the top of page 455. The world is sunlight, restoring the soul, rejoicing the heart, bringing light to the eyes, more welcomed than gold, a Torah from heaven. I have no light to give the morning. My Torah, my special human gift, is words. As I bring my words forth from silence, welcome them, you who redeems the sun from darkness. Baruch atah Adonai, Yotzer HaMeorot. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Please be seated. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha Vishinantam levanecha, v'dibarta bam, v'shivtecha beveitecha, uvlechtecha baderech, uvshochbecha uvkumecha. Tam leot ayadecha, v'hayu letotafot beineinecha, uchtatam. Al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'tem kedoshim le'elokechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeitzi etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim Liot lachem le'elohim, ani Adonai Elohechem. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai, that wherever we are, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. Page 466. Yai nai 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 yai nai 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 yai nai nai yai nai 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 yai nai 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 yai nai 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 nai. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha ne'etzar b'kodesh, nora tehilo tosef eleh, nora tehilo tosef eleh. Shira chadasha shibchu geulim, l'shimcha al sfataya. Yachad kulam hodu vehimlichu veyameru Adonai imloch leolam vaed Adonai imloch leolam vaed Yai nai 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 yai nai 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 yai nai 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 yai nai 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 yai nai 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 nai. Please rise for the Amidah, page 468. Adonai, Sevotai Tzivcha, Uvia, Kitikilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, El Agadol, Hagibor, Hanorah, El Elyon, Gohen Hasadim Tovim, Vekonen Hakol, Vezocher Haseavot Ve'imavot, Umevi Duvan Lifnei Bnei Kem, Leman Shemo Yavavah, Melech Ozer Moshiach, Baruch atah Adonai, Magin Avraham Bezrat Sarah, atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayim Hakol atah Rav LeHoshia, Morid atah, Mechalel Farim Bechesed, Mechayim Hakol Berachamim Rachim. Somech Nosim Verofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayim Nato, Lishenei Havalar, Milchamos Hava Geburot, Umidonela, Melech Meminim Umechayim, Umashiach Yeshua, V'ne'emanat Halachayot, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayim HaKol. Page 476. Nechadesh et Shimcha ba'olam, Teshem shemachti shimo tov v'shmeimaru, Kakatu nevi'acha, V'karat be'al ve'amar, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevaot, Melech kol haaretz, Kevodo. Atir Atirinu Adonai, Atir Shimcha b'chol haaretz, Baruch Kevod Adonai Mikomo. Echad hu Eloheinu, hu Avinu Malkeinu, hu Moshiach hu Yashmichu, Be'otamalei kol chai. Amin. Ilo Adonai le'olam, Elohai Yisrael, L'dor v'dor, Hallelujah. L'dor v'dor na'tikro lecha, U'la'netzach netzachim kedushatcha na'tish, V'shivchacha v'pinu lo yavush, Ve'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, Hallel HaKadosh. Page 480. Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Ya'aleh v'Yavo v'Yizacher, Zikronenu, Zikron kol amcha b'Eretz Yisrael lefanecha, L'tova u'lechen u'lechesed u'lerachamim, v'chaim u'shalom v'yom chag hamatzot hazeh. Our God and God of our ancestors, be mindful of your people Israel and recall our merit for good and grace, and in loving kindness and compassion for life and peace on this festival of Pesach. Zochrenu Adonai Eloheinu bo l'tova, ufokdenu bo livracha, v'hosheinu bo l'chaim. This day remember us for well-being. This day bless us with your nearness. This day help us to a fuller life. Please take a few moments. You may be seated. Please take a few moments for your own personal prayer and reflection. On festivals, we recite the words of Hallel, which is a compilation of psalms in praise of God. It's a musical, joyous, and celebratory portion of our liturgy. But we say Hallel a little bit differently during Passover. For the last 6 days of Passover, we purposely omit a few psalms. We truncate our joy. Ma nishtana. Why do we recite this Hallel differently from all other Hallels? We're taught, and so that we may not gloat at the fall of our enemies. While we celebrate God saving us from Egypt and leading us to freedom, we also remember that the Egyptians suffered, that God's creatures suffered. It's a moment of profound humility. So as we recite these words of praise, may we offer thanks to God for ensuring the freedom that we have, but also hear these words as a call for what could be, for a world in which every human being shares that same freedom. For our Hallel this morning, I've chosen selections that directly relate to the holiday of Passover. It's one of the beautiful things about Hallel, that there's some liturgical and seasonal flexibility within it. So we'll first, after I say the opening blessing, we'll recite B'Tzetz Yisrael Mi Mitzrayim, when the Israelites left from Egypt, and then Min HaMetzar, from the narrow place I call to you. And lastly, words that we will hear once again this morning when Howard reads Torah for us, Ozi V'Zimrat Yah, from Shirat Hayam, from the Song of the Sea. Page 560, please rise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu likro et Hallel. Amen. Page 562. B'tzetz Yisrael mi Mitzrayim, Beit Yaakov me'am lo'es. B'tzetz Yisrael mi Mitzrayim, Beit Yaakov me'am lo'es. Hayta Yehuda lekodsho Yisrael olam shalotav hayam ra'a vayanos hayarden yisov leachor heharim rakdu che'elim givaot kivnei son malecha haya kitanus hayarden tisov leachor heharim tirkadu che'elim givaot kivnei son milifnei adon huli aretz milifnei Elohai Yaakov hachofchi hatzor agamayim chalamish lemaino mayim Page 565 at the indented words. Min hametzar karatia anani v'merchavya. Min hametzar karatia anani v'merchavya. Anani v'merchavya. Anani v'merchavya. On the following page, 6 lines down, 2, 3, 4, 6 lines down, Ozi v'zimratia. Ozi v'zimratia. Vayahi li lishua. Ozi v'zimratia 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 vayahi li lishua. Our concluding blessing can be found on page 569. Yahalelucha Adonai Eloheinu kol ma'asecha v'chasidecha tzadikim otzei ritzonecha v'chol amcha beit Yisrael v'rina yodu v'yivrchu v'yishbechu v'paru v'romimu v'ya'aritzu v'yikdishu v'yimlichu es shemcha malkenu ki lecha tov lehodot o shemcha na'el lezamer ki me'olam v'ad olam ata el Baruch ata Adonai Melech Mechulal Batish Bachotz. Amen. We remain standing for our Torah service, page 494. Ein kamocha Elohim Adonai ve'im ma'asecha malchutzecha malchut kol olamim Umemshel Tefachol Dor Vador. Adonai 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 Yivarech et Amo Vashalom. Hey, Yerushalayim. Let Melech Benisa Adonai. Ki mitzion tetzei Torah. Ki mitzion tetzei Torah. Udevar Adonai Yerushalayim. Baruch Shenantan Torah. Baruch Shenantan Torah. Le'amo Yisrael B'kedushato. Adonai El Rachum V'Chanu Eretz Apayim V'Rav Chesed V'Emet Notzer Chesed Le'alafim Nosei Avon B'Fesha V'Chata V'Nakev. Adonai, a God compassionate and gracious, slow to anger, abounding in kindness and faithfulness, extending kindness to the 1,000th generation, forgiving iniquity, transgression, and sin, and granting pardon. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Gadol Adonai, Oderolam Shem Yaseh. Adonai Hagidu Shlosha Devarim, Shlosha Devarim, Haolam Omed. Al Shlosha Devarim, Al Shlosha Devarim, Al Shlosha Devarim, Haolam Omed. My honor to invite up Howard Seidler, who will be reading some Torah for us this morning. So on this last day of Passover, we read the actual moment when the Israelites leave Egypt and they have reached the Red Sea, and suddenly Pharaoh's army is following behind them. And it has one of my favorite midrashim, so it's not in the Torah, but added to the Torah, is from this particular moment, right? That Nachshon, who's this young boy, and there's a beautiful children's story that he's a young boy who's afraid to swim and conquers his fear. He just steps out one foot after another, and the water slowly rises and rises and rises until it finally reaches his mouth. And that's why we say micha mocha and then mika mocha, is that idea that the water had reached Nachshon's mouth. And it is only in that moment that the sea split and the Israelites are able to walk through. And I love that story because it's such a powerful story about what it means to be brave and to take chances and to have faith that when we put ourselves out there, when we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, that is when we are able to lift one another up. It's my honor to have Howard read Torah for us this morning. Is there anyone who would like an aliyah to the Torah? Rob, come on, Rob. You can also both come up. Yeah.
Az Yashir Moshe Ubnei Israel Et Hashiram Zot Ladonai Vayelemu Ashir Kiga Oga Sus Ferochevo Vayel O Ziva Ziva Vayeli Lishua Zeli Vianbehu Elohim viva avulimindu Adonai ish milchama Adonai shemo Markevo para Bichelo yara Umifar shalisha To be'uviamsu Tihomo yechasu Yeredu vinsolo Kimo aven Yemenecha Adonai Nedari Bakov Yemenecha Adonai Torah Zoye Uverok Odecha Mecha Tishala Charon Decha Yochalemo Kakash Uverua Apecha Ner Umayim Netzevu Kimonei Nozelim Kapeu Tihomot Televian Amar Oye Eredu Asi Achale Shalom Hima Emo Nafshi Ari Charbi Torishemo Yadi Nishaka Baruchacha Kisamo Yam Talelu Kaoferit Bamayim Adiri Micha mocha ba'ilim Adonai, Micha mocha nedor ba'kodesh, Norata hilo osefele, Natita yiminecha, Kiblaemo aretz, Nachita v'chatecha, Amzu ga'alta, Nehalta v'ozecha, El neve kodshecha, Shamebu ami yirgazun, Kil achaz Yoshevei palashet Az nipalu alufei edom Ele moab Yochazemo ra'ad Namogu Kol Yoshevei Canaan Kipol alehem Eimata v'fachad Bigdol zeroacha Yimu ka'aven Ajavor Amacha Adonai, Ajavor Amzu Kanita, Tiviemo, Betitaemo, Behar Nechalatecha, Machon L'Shiptecha, Pa'alta Adonai, Mikdash Adonai, Todenu Yadecha, Adonai, Yimlo, Le'olam Ba'ed, Ki va sus paro Biribo, Ufarashav Hayam, Bayashem Adonai, Elohim Edmei Bayam, Uvenei Yisrael, Halefu Vayabashah, Bitokayam, Vitikal, Miriam, Bial, Aho, Etato, Bayada, Vititzena, Kohanashim, Ahareha, Vitupin, Uvin Kolo, the Ta'an Lahem, Miriam, Shiri Ladonai, Kinga Oga, Sus Verothevo, Rama Vayam.
Wow. Asher Koff, thank you so much, Barry, Rob, and Howard for beautiful Torah reading. A very hefty Torah reading at that too. Lovely. Before we lift our Torah and return it to the ark, we take a moment to turn our thoughts to all those who are in need of healing, whether it's of body, of mind, or of spirit. If there's someone that you're thinking of this morning, I invite you to share their name as I look around.
Always first the day of Richie. Fire Heights, Washington Mills, John Avenue, Vicky Span.
Jim McKenna. The words of Misha Barach can be found on page 511. Misha Barach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Li'avotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu mekor habracha imotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirits, and let us say, we lift Torah high for all to see. Please rise on the bottom of page 510. Vezot HaTorah Asher Samoshem Lifnei Yisrael V'Yadonai B'Yad Moshe. Eitz Chaim Hi, Levatim Ba, Ve'kom Te, Menusha, Derate Hecha, Sarteno, Ve'oneti Koteha, Shalom, Hashivim, Adonai, Elohim, Shura, Adeshamin, Remain standing for the words of Aleinu, page 586. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'aseit gedulah l'ser b'reshit, v'lo ha'tzigoi ha'ratzon, v'lo ha'samanu mishpachot ha'adama, v'lo ha'samanu pa'eh, v'lo ha'pinu k'nefol ha'amana, v'anachnu omrim, u'mishachachim u'modim, livnei melech ve'amakim, ha'kadosh baruch hu, v'nechmar v'nayam Adonai, v'lechol kol ha'amim, v'yom ha'yom here Adonai Echad, U'Shemo, U'Shemo, U'Shemo Echad. Please be seated. On the Shalosh Regalim, on the 3 pilgrimage holidays, we also take a time to remember those who we've lost in the past year and to remember those who are no longer with us. Yizkor, the service that we're about to begin, is this moment to reflect on the people in our lives who have helped to shape us, that have enabled us to be here and to be the people that we are. And I think the reason we do this on holidays like Passover and Sukkot and Shavuot is that family, the people that we love, hold such an important place in our memories of those holidays. To sit at a Passover Seder table and to have an empty chair, to reflect on traditions that have gone by, the way someone would make a joke or lead a Seder or prepare matzo ball soup. It brings back a lot of memories, and so it's a perfect time to reflect on all that they have given us. We begin our Yizkor service on page 576. Mizmor LaDavid, Adonai ro'i lo echzar. Adonai is my shepherd, I lack nothing. God makes me lie down in green pastures. God leads me to water and places of repose. God renews my life. God guides me in right paths as befits God's name. Though I walk through a valley of deepest darkness, I feel no harm, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You spread a table for me in full view of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My drink is abundant. Only goodness and steadfast love shall pursue me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of Adonai for many long years. And together we say, Amen. In 1969, psychiatrist Elizabeth Kubler-Ross published her internationally best-selling book, on death and dying, in which she proposed the theory of the 5 stages of grief, that I imagine we're all familiar with. Nearly 40 years later, the Kubler-Ross theory still shapes our understanding of grief. Kubler-Ross proposed that a person experiencing grief should expect these 5 stages: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance, moving from one stage to another in a very nice, neat order, with the promise of acceptance and the promise of an end to one's grief. Makes sense why we cling to this idea, that we've latched onto this theory. It's intuitively so appealing. It provides a way for us to understand a complex, messy process through simple step-by-step instructions. But while it was originally designed to be descriptive, it has morphed into being prescriptive. And too often, grieving individuals are told what they should be feeling and when they should be feeling it. In an episode of NPR's Hidden Brain, an exploration of the science of human behavior, host Shankar Vedantam interviewed resilience researcher Lucy Hone. Lucy tragically lost her daughter in a car accident and found that many people, including grief counselors and friends and family, kept telling her that she should be experiencing the 5 stages of grief. But Lucy was not feeling what people told her she was supposed to be. She wasn't following the steps, and she found herself frustrated by people telling her how she was supposed to feel. She didn't feel anger towards the driver of the car. She never experienced denial. The stages just didn't fit with her experience. Because grief is unpredictable. It's messy. The 5 stages present grief as a train we get on at the station with predicted and perfectly timed stops along the way to our final destination. But in reality, grief is a roller coaster. There are ups and downs, corkscrews, and loop-de-loops. Sometimes we're prepared to keep traveling straight ahead on the tracks when there's a sudden left turn that nearly throws you out of your seat. As Lucy explains in the episode, everyone grieves differently. There is no one roadmap. She also noted that people expected her to be sad all of the time, and that she felt a certain amount of guilt being seen at the movies or out at dinner, at a restaurant. But in reality, we're not designed to feel one emotion all of the time. In every moment, our emotional lives are a complex mosaic. The Jewish calendar, holidays, and life cycle events not only embrace, but embody the complexity of human emotions. Every holiday and life cycle ritual creates space for joy and for sorrow, regardless of whether it's a wedding or a funeral. Probably the most iconic moment of a wedding is when the couple steps on the glass. There is no one explanation for the origin of this ritual, with many different explanations, but every single one points to the glass being a reminder that in the midst of joy and revelry, of the pain in the world, of something broken, whether it's the destruction of the temple, the smashing of the tablets when Moses laid eyes on the golden calf, or a reminder of the brokenness of the world. No matter which interpretation you choose, we punctuate the happiest moment of a couple's life by destroying, by reminding the couple and everyone present that while this moment feels whole and beautiful, the world outside the bubble of that chuppah is messy, and we need to be willing to confront it after that last song is done playing. And instantly after they step on the glass, the couple kisses and we sing Mazel Tov. It's quite the juxtaposition. But of course, that is marriage, that is love, that is life. The same pattern can be found in our holidays. Take the holiday we're currently observing. During the Passover Seder, we lift up a piece of matzah and proudly and dramatically declare, "This is the bread of affliction." Later in the Seder, however, we refer to that same piece of matzah as a symbol of the joy of our freedom. Additionally, when we tell the story of Passover, we remove a drop of wine from our glass for every plague to lessen our joy in honor of the Egyptians who suffered. But moments later, we exuberantly sing Dayenu, a song of gratitude to God for destroying those same Egyptians. Even this service is an emotional paradox. We recite Hallel and Yizkor within minutes of one another. In the book of Ecclesiastes, we read Solomon's sagacious words, "B'chol zaman ve'et," to everything there is a season, a time for being born and a time for dying, a time for planting and a time for uprooting the planted, a time for weeping and a time for laughing. Sometimes I find this statement comforting, but there are other times when I'm frustrated by it. We don't always react emotionally the way we have been told we should. It's not always clear when it is a time to laugh and when it is a time to cry. Sometimes we find ourselves laughing when we think we should be crying, or crying when we should be laughing. The Israeli poet Yehuda Amichai beautifully responds to this tension in his poem, "A Man Doesn't Have Time." He says, "A man doesn't have time in his life to have time for everything. He doesn't have season enough to have a season for every purpose." Ecclesiastes was wrong about that. A man needs to love and to hate at the same moment, to laugh and cry with the same eyes, with the same hands throw stones and to gather them, to make love in war and war in love, and to hate and forgive and remember and forget, to arrange and confuse, to eat and to digest what history takes years and years to do. Our emotional lives are paradoxical, multi-layered, and constantly changing. Whether we just lost a loved one, became a new parent, or just trying to make it through each day in this tumultuous time. We never feel completely sad at a funeral, or completely happy with our newborn, or content in our everyday lives. All we can do is notice how we are feeling, to articulate what's going on, remembering that there is no right or wrong answer. What we can do is be present for one another, to be a shoulder to cry on, whether they are tears of joy or sadness or something in between. We remember the ways that the following individuals brought joy and sadness and light and love and challenge into our lives. As I say the name of your loved one, I invite you to please rise. On this Yizkor, we remember Stephen August, Daniel Barrell, Patricia Burke, Milton Berkowitz, David Bonheim, James Brock, Howard Brody, Robert Buchholz, Bruce Burpee, Betty Jean Chatham, Jerry E. Cohen, Denise Cooper, Herbert Corday, Harry Cronson, Irene Davis, Tricia Devereaux, Israel Dordek, Etta Dordek, Charlotte Dumas, Audrey Azarski, Robert Fink, Irving Finkelstein, Barry Fleur, David Foster, Sam Foster, Judith Francis, Joyce Axelman Franklin, Sheldon Friedman, Miriam Adina Garson, Lillian Goldberg, Ron Hampton, Ted Hesberg, Cantor David Bernard Heisiger, Harriet Hirschman, Heinz Jaffe, Andrew Karp, Ed Katz, Edward Morton Katz, Hedwig Kaufman, Albert Kaufman, Irving Kaufman, Varda Kaufman, Steve Kaufman, Ellen Kelso, Sally B. Kohlenberg, Lisa Cursius, Alan LaRoe, Leon Levine, Robert Lieberman, Larry Linker, Kevin Long, Elizabeth Samalek McGregor, Stephen McGregor, Ronald Maniloff, Martin Markowitz, Tim Martin, Alan Mason, Jack Mendel, Esther Milgram, Jack Peoples, Michael Proscia, Elizabeth Rowe, Wendy Rose, Louise Rose, George Rosen, Kendall Ross, Phyllis Rudich, Lauren Saltwell, John Samaluk, Esther Scott, Joanne Seckler, Rachel Reisner Selden, Michael Cecil, Richard Silverman, Rabbi Stanley Skolnick, Robert Sparks, B. Melvin Swire, Emery Zabo, Joseph Pepos Taraboulis, another individual named Joseph Pepos Taraboulis, Philip Brown Tart, Scott Turner, Martin Weintraub, Laura Carol Wilkins, and Kim Worrell. I invite you to take a few moments to remember those named and those who you are remembering this morning. Please rise for the words of El Malei Rachamim, our memorial prayer. El Malei Rachamim, Shochem Bamramim, Hamseh Menucha Nechana, Tachat Kanfei Chashchina, Im Kiroshim Utuharim, Kizohar Harakia Mashirim, Lenishmat Yakirenu Shehalacho Leolamam, Baal Harachamim Yasirem, Beseter Knafav Leolamim, Vayitzor Bitzor Chachayim Et Nishmatam, Adonai Hu Nachalatam, Vayanuchu B'Shalom Al Mishkavam, B'Nomar, Amen. Fully compassionate God on high, to our loved ones who have entered eternity, grant clear and certain rest with you in the lofty heights of the sacred and pure, whose brightness shines like the very glow of heaven. Source of mercy, forever enfold them in the embrace of your wings. Secure their souls in eternity. Adonai, they are yours. They will rest in peace. Amen. If there's anyone who is thinking of an individual who was not already named for Kaddish this morning, I invite you to share their name as they look around.
Susan, Shirley, Sarah, Melvin, Mark, Susan.
Page 598, we offer the words of Mourner's Kaddish, offering comfort to all who are bereaved. Yitzgadal v'yitzgadash shmei Rabbah, v'alma tivrach yirtei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon u'vyomechon u'chayei tzachol beit Yisrael, la'agala v'zman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam almei almaya. Yitzbarach v'yitzshabach v'yitzba'ar v'yitzramam v'yitznaseh. V'yitz adar, v'yitz aleh, v'yitz alal, shmei t'kudusha, b'richu. Le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Da'amiram v'alma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Osei shalom b'imramav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Osei shalom b'imramav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Zechanam lebracha, may their memories be for a blessing. Thank you all for joining this morning.